Hi.
Hello.
Merci. Well, the name of the film is Metamorphoses.
Yes.
First question for you, Christophe. When you were a student, was mythology, was that a subject that you studied? And what did you think at the time? Did you enjoy mythology as a subject?
Moi, je fais partie d'une génération en fait où la mythologie n'était pas tellement au programme. Un petit peu quand on était très jeune en fait, lorsqu'on avait 10-12 ans au collège, mais j'ai pas recroisé, on va dire, la mythologie grecque ultérieurement.
So when I was a student back in the days, mythology wasn't really on the program. So it's something that we studied like around 10 to 12 years old, but I didn't go back to Greek mythology really after that.
Et donc mon intérêt, on va dire, pour la mythologie grecque et plus particulièrement en fait pour Ovid, c'est venu plus tard. C'est plus venu dans dans un cursus littéraire, j'allais dire en fait. C'est plus une lecture d'écrivains que le thème même de la mythologie.
So actually I got interested in Greek mythology and more particularly in Ovid later on during my personal readings, like during my life, but not really during my studies.
Je fasse des réponses plus courtes, peut-être. Je vais essayer. Voilà.
Yeah, Christophe is talking more. You're editing a little bit.
Yeah,
Charles, right? Charles, by the way, let me just stop for a second. I'm very bad at doing this, but Christophe Honoré is one of the great filmmakers today in France, if I may. This is his first movie, maybe with no songs, if I'm not mistaken, or for a while, maybe.
I think it is not exactly my first movie without songs, but you are right. Even if music is very important in the soundtrack, I don't need to put songs to give some reality in my narrative dans mon scénario, in my script, because very often if I use songs, it's to provoke the audience and that the audience say, oh, it is not truth because people never sing in the street or something like that.
Right.
But with all the metamorphoses I have in this movie, I don't need this kind of of tools.
No, but not only that. By the way, I don't think you're needed anymore.
Comme ça, je vais aller chercher de temps en temps quand je sens que j'y arrive à peu près avec mon anglais de pacotille, je le fais.
You're fired, you know.
What Christophe is saying is that he will be answering in English and when maybe he lacks a word or...
Of course, I understand. Well, in this one, it's almost the opposite, where typically you've heightened reality in Beloved or in Love Songs.
Love Songs,
Love
yes.
Songs. But by the way, are those soundtracks available? Because I saw them already years ago, but I was watching the trailers again to refresh my memory about your abuse of the actor Louis Garrel. He's in almost every film. I didn't realize how wonderful the songs are. So good. In that case, you heightened. Here, you took this this surreal. We call them surreal, but they're myths. They feel surreal because you're doing the opposite, where you have them in a real contemporary setting, where it's not even contemporary. It's actually very at times pedestrian looking, ugly. You know, with the traffic and some of the scenes are in these very placid spaces, but just as often they may be on a road or in a kind of ugly little urban environment. So you're kind of stripping away a certain amount of the romance in that regard. Was this an exercise for you in a way to take you out of your own comfort zone, making a film like this?
Donc la question c'est, est-ce que c'est pour sortir de votre zone de confort que vous avez décidé d'aller tourner dans des lieux qui ne correspondent pas du tout à votre univers habituellement? Et est-ce que c'est pour un peu supprimer, enfin en tout cas effacer la notion de romantique ou de romance qui vient spontanément dans l'idée des contes mythologiques?
I think I am like a lot of directors. We always want to make a movie against the movie before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to counter.
Yeah, so you are right when you say that I want to escape my comfort zone with this movie. If I am ridiculous when I speak in English, don't hesitate to say to me.
No, it's. I think it's going to sound charming, but that may sound patronizing.
Okay,
I don't know.
And but maybe the other objective for me, the other.
The other goal?
Objective, yeah.
Is trying to catch modern beauty. And because, there's a lot of, in painter, in sculpture, in art in general, Metamorphoses, Ovid's Metamorphoses.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists proposed masterpiece about these tales, and me, and it's very often with academic beauty. So with Metamorphoses, I try to find beauty where we all think that they are not at all. And maybe if I choose to shoot near the highways in the suburbs, particularly at the beginning of the movie, it's because I had this impression that if gods decide to come back on Earth, they would have chosen this kind of place to be discreet.
They may appear at a Target.
C'est un peu leur magasin, les supermarchés de périphérie dans les zones.
Exactly.
Merci. How did you work with the young actors? Did they understand these young actors? Did they understand what you were trying to do? Did you workshop? In other words, did you have a period of rehearsals beforehand? Did you ask them to read certain books or go to the museum, maybe look at certain art? I mean,
it was one of the pleasures about this movie because there are a lot of people in the movie. The movie is very peuplé.
There are a lot of different characters. Like
it's populated.
Yes, and I made the choice to work with not with professional actor, but just people I can meet in the streets. So during 6 months, every boy or girl I meet in the street, and I find he is beautiful or she is like a god or something like that. I ask, do you want to come in my movie? Of course, I very often they think that I am just a predator. Yes.
Yeah. So you had to carry around your DVDs and
and it was of course, the most of them never even didn't know Ovid and Metamorphoses, and it was for me very interesting to try to tell these very, very, very old stories today with people from today, and hope that maybe a spirit come to us and visit us during the setting.
There are a lot of you took from a lot of different myths, though, correct? So there, as you said, it was very populated. You tried to squeeze in quite a bit of story and different myths. Were you so intent on doing that?
But in Ovid Metamorphoses, I don't know the number, but it's incredible the number of the tales. Des contes, des fables. So me, when I work on the script, I try to make a selection, and I always have in my mind a tale to be selected by me should say something about l'irrésistible.
Irresistibility.
The irresistibility
Sure.
of the human body for God. Always in the stories I selected, gods, women and men, decide to come back on Earth because they can't resist they have a too big desire for a young girl or young boy, and all these stories are stories about desires.
Desire.
Yeah.
Desire and desperation. And I was also wondering when you're trying to select which stories to tell or characters, if, I don't know, makeup and special effects, you use them a few times for a couple of different instances. And also, there is, of course, like the movie's title suggests, there are transformations, but we don't go through all the computer graphics. One moment, they're in the form of a person. They take the form of a human, but then they may be some other animal, like a cow or...
I will need you. Je vais avoir besoin de toi.
All of this.
Effectivement, en fait... Très vite, j'ai su que le travail sur la métamorphose même, qui était évidemment un des défis de la mise en scène, ne pourrait pas être de l'ordre du spectaculaire.
So really early on, I knew that my work on the actual Metamorphoses would be the challenge and couldn't be in the realm of the spectacular.
Très vite, je me suis dit qu'il fallait que les métamorphoses soient plus construites par l'esprit du spectateur que produite dans le film.
Really early on also I realized that these metamorphoses would have to happen in the viewer's mind and wouldn't really be shown on screen.
Donc finalement, dans le film, il y a très très peu d'effets spéciaux qui auraient pu être par exemple de l'ordre du morphing.
So there wouldn't going to be many special effects or CGI in the movie and pardon, c'était la femme.
Des trucs comme du morphing.
There wouldn't be morphing or this kind of effects.
Je pouvais pas aller, de toute façon, j'en avais pas les moyens. Je sais pas, comme dans Twilight, quand il se transforme en loup, par exemple.
Yeah, I didn't have the budget anyway to produce such effects like in Twilight.
I understand. No, in a way, though, those effects after a while become very cheesy and predictable. So in a way, you know, it's kind of a nice alternative. It doesn't feel like it's a budgetary restriction. It just feels like an alternative choice.
Et ça va surtout avec la croyance dans le religieux. C'est-à-dire que malgré tout, c'est quand même bien des histoires religieuses.
And it goes with religious belief because above all, they are religious stories to begin with.
Il faut croire aux dieux pour croire aux miracles des dieux.
You have to believe in gods to believe in miracles.
Et donc, quand on offre quand on montre, comme dans le morphing par exemple, etc., on ne joue pas sur la croyance, on joue sur la vraisemblance.
Yeah, when you show the metamorphoses, then you don't play with the face or the beliefs, but you only show the metamorphoses.
Et il y a une phrase qui vient de Saint Paul dans les Évangiles que j'aime beaucoup, qui dit croire à l'invisible par le visible.
So there is a sentence from Saint Paul who says you have to believe in the invisible through the visible. Does it make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So.
Désolé, ça va?
Yeah.
The name again of the film is Metamorphoses. It's going to be at the Spectacle, Le Cinéma Spectacle, on Williamsburg. Have you been to Williamsburg, Christophe? Have you visited?
Yeah, not this time, but I had already go. There.
Okay. Do you visit the United States frequently, or?
I don't really know United States. I know
really?
New York. And now I know Harvard because at the beginning of the week I was invited
Oh,
by Harvard for retrospective in the university in Cambridge.
In Cambridge.
Oh, Harvard. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Harvard. Of
Harvard.
course.
Okay, my accent is horrible. Thank you.
No, Harvard.
So I just know New York and Cambridge and Boston now.
What was the last one?
Boston.
Boston. Right, of course. Boston. Yeah. Well, it's a nice town. And Cambridge is nice, right? It's still nice. I used to live there like 30 years ago. So.
Yeah, but I was very surprised not to meet a lot of young people. Because of the concentration of students, I imagine there's a lot of young people in the street.
Of course.
No.
No. Really?
I don't know if they are in spring break or
when were you there?
Or hidden. But
was this last week or something?
Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, interesting. Okay. How did Metamorphoses go over in France? You have, I'm sure, a big following in France. So I'm wondering how this particular movie, no Catherine Deneuve, no Louis Garrel, no, I don't know. This was different. This is, I mean, Michel Gondry, for instance, if I can name another French-speaking filmmaker, has done similar types of experiments, if you want to call it an experiment, or just...
Voilà, la question c'est comment s'est passée la sortie du film en France, parce que est-ce que c'était pas un peu perturbant, enfin pas perturbant, mais ça a changé pour votre public habituel en termes de registre et puis même en termes d'acteurs, puisque généralement il y a Catherine Deneuve, Louis Garrel, et que ça lui fait un peu penser aux expérimentations de Michel Gondry, qui, pour citer un autre réalisateur francophone, qui lui aussi a parfois fait des films on va dire avec des castings importants et d'autres films un peu plus pointus, expérimentaux.
You know, alternating between commercial and non-commercial, I guess.
It's why we are so lucky in France, the directors, that we can not for a long time, I fear, but
you mean it's threatened?
We can have this kind of challenge. Of course, Metamorphoses in box office way is not interesting for production. You understand, because c'est un film forcément qui s'adresse à un public plus restreint que d'autres de mes films. Mais en revanche, c'est là où on est particulièrement privilégié en France, c'est que en tant que cinéaste, on peut encore se lancer dans ce genre de défi.
Yeah, so obviously with a movie like Metamorphoses, the target audience is much smaller than my bigger commercial movies, as you call them. But that's why we are so lucky and privileged in France, that filmmakers can go on these kind of challenges.
And we're privileged in New York that we still have theaters that will play films like Metamorphoses as well, because there is also an appetite for films like this as well. So, you know.
But I imagine it's because it's for you, this kind of movie is really exotic and different than no.
Well, you know, there are so many film lovers, cinephiles, cineasts, whatever, in New York, that there are cinemas that will play films like Metamorphoses, fortunately. So, you know, that not everything feels like it's commercially constructed a certain formula. This is not a formula film. You know, this is what's it's refreshing.
I think it's very special to New York. Mm-hmm. It is not the same in the rest of America.
No, it's not. Maybe a couple of cities like San Francisco, Chicago, but I don't even want to. It would be great if it were in more cities, because it's doing them a disservice. Anyway, that's a whole other subject. I didn't want to get into that so much, but I do appreciate that in France they will also give money to a filmmaker to make a film like this, and there are places that will screen it as well.
Till the moment
festivals
they stop.
Maybe this was the final straw. I don't know. Lastly, you're here you have even a newer film. I saw the trailer. It also looks like
Sophie's Misfortunes. C'est ça, Les Malheurs de Sophie.
Sophie's Misfortunes.
About a young girl.
Yeah, it's you know me. I am a movie maker.
I heard,
but I am too a writer for child. I wrote a lot of book for children, and I have in my mind the idea to try to make a movie for childs. Sophie's Misfortunes is an adaptation of a very, very famous writer in France in the 19th century, La Comtesse de Ségur. She is not really known here, but in France she is very famous, and she write this story. It's Les Malheurs de Sophie Misfortunes. In a way, it's our Alice in the Wonderland in France. You understand? It's something very, very strange, but it's in a French way. It's not surrealist English. It's realist French. So very, very naturalist novel with a little girl who is qui est confrontée.
Who has to face
to death.
Who has to face death?
Mortality.
Mortality.
Mortalité. Okay. Sounds like an upbeat film. And no, just joking. I'm sure the French, les fans de France will love it. I'm sure. You know, they're smoking and drinking wine in the back. The kids at the theater. You know. I'm terrible with my
bien accueilli en France. Et que,
pour le coup, il a été très bien accueilli. Ça s'est très bien passé la sortie du film.
Well,
it got a great reception in France, and the release went well.
Misfortunes of Emily already.
Sophie's Misfortune.
Excuse me, Sophie. I don't know why I said Emily. Sophie's Misfortune. It's already played theatrically.
Yeah, last spring.
Oh, okay. So we're really far behind here. So you were here also to have meetings for US distribution, or?
C'est parce que le film est dans les rencontres de rendez-vous du cinéma français d'Unifrance.
It played at Rendezvous here at Lincoln Center. I tried to go, but I work. In fact, I need to go to my job. But it's a thrill because I've been watching your films for the last 10 years or so, and I've been a big fan of your films. So it's always nice to meet one of my favorite directors from
in the snowy,
in the beautiful snowy.
It's incredible.
It's nice
because
right?
For a Parisian, we know spring, summer, and winter, but not in the same week. You understand this?
Week.
Yeah, that's right.
The same week.
He's cracking jokes. Yeah, you're right. It was maybe 60 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday, and it's very strange. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, the same week. Well, merci bien, monsieur.
Merci à vous.